Welcome to Creative Piecemeal Podcast, a podcast for creatives. I'm your host, Tammy Takeishi. Join me for compelling conversations with artists, actors, authors, musicians, and other creatives about the impact of the creative and fine arts in their lives and our ever-changing world. Thank you for listening. Hello, this is Tammy, and welcome to another episode of Creative Piecemeal Podcast. Today, I am joined by a wonderful artist, Hannah Lipsey. She's a professional commission-based artist, creating highly realistic portraits in both graphite and colored pencil. And I found her via Instagram and just fell in love with her work, especially because she also draws dachshunds. And as you know, listeners, I love dachshunds, but she of course draws many other beautiful portraits. So please check her out. All of her information will be in the show notes. And welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks. Nice to meet you over the internet.
Yes, nice to meet you too. So excited to have another artist on the show and, just get to dig into to everything creative.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, I had a look at your podcast and I've listened to some of the other episodes, and you've got like a diverse range of people. It's really interesting.
Well, thank you so much. I always try to grow in the areas where there's not as many. So we're going to get started with who or what inspired you to become an artist.
Okay, so for me, I don't think it was anything in particular, apart from the fact that I was good at it, which might just sound a bit odd, but I feel like you enjoy the things that you're good at. And I was always good at art from an early age, like even being really small. I remember I entered my first art competition when I was 6 or something and won. And I've just always been like, I'm going to be an artist. And it's just something I said. I don't know if I actually meant it or believed it, but I'm going to be an artist,
Well, that's lovely.
So I think just mainly being good at, because I feel like you excel at the things that you enjoy, and you usually enjoy what you're good at, in a nutshell.
Yes, very true. Do you have any artists that you look up to at all?
It depends. So I've got 2 very different things that I do. So I have my realistic portraits, which is what I'm doing currently, and it's commission based, and that's kind of what I'm doing full time. And then I do my paintings, which are very different, and that's what I did at university. So I studied painting. I did an art degree, and I wasn't really into drawing or anything. It was all about acrylic paint. And so yeah, they're 2 really different things. So painting world, the person that inspires me is an artist called Edward Hopper, who you may or may not have heard of, but I feel like he's someone that if you Google, you will recognize his paintings, because I feel like they're quite famous, but you might not necessarily know the name. And obsessed with his work. And when people see my paintings, they say, oh, it reminds me of Edward Hopper. And I'm like, nailed it. Because even though the subject of what he draws is quite different, it's the way he uses light, and I think that's where I take my inspiration from. So yeah, you'll have to have a look and see if you can see that similarity, but Edward Hopper for sure. And then when it comes to my portrait work, to be honest, I feel like there are loads of people, because I only discovered drawing in the last few years and through Instagram. Obviously I knew people drew realistically, but it never really occurred to me that, oh, that could be a career and that people do it, until I saw people on Instagram doing that as their full-time job. And I started following some of them, and some of them that, have quite big followings. That's kind of what inspired me to give it a go myself. I was like, oh, well, if they can do it, let me see if I can do it. And then since that, I've barely done any painting, and now the commissions and the realistic drawings have just taken over my life. So
it's sort of snowballed into something.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's nice. It's always wonderful to discover different facets of our talents that we have, right?
Yeah, because I guess I already knew, I can kind of draw, because doing art at school, you kind of did a bit more drawing, and even at university I did like life drawing and other stuff. So I've always been able to draw with a pencil. I've never really properly tried to do realism. And I think it was just like one day, like probably 5 years ago, and it was my sister-in-law's birthday, and I thought, I'm just going to see if I can draw my niece. I don't know why I decided to, just thought I'm just going to see if I can do it. And I gave it a little go, and I mean, it was nowhere near as good as what I do now, but it was pretty decent. I was like, oh, for a first attempt, that's pretty good. I can do this. And I think I just put it on Facebook or something. And then after that, I got a few friends saying, oh, can you draw this for me? Or like friends of friends. And I got a few like I say commissions. I had a full-time job. I wasn't even trying to do anything with art then. It was just, a few random people. So I did some bits and bobs, carried on with my full-time job, didn't really think anything of it. And it was once I moved to the US and I was not working for 2 years because we moved because of my husband's job. So I had 2 years to play, basically, and not have to worry about money. And that's when I started, like, I'm going to try and really hone in on this drawing thing. And yeah, that was the start of it, really.
Very nice. Yeah. So you sort of had the perfect storm in which to leap into doing creativity full time and not have to worry about the more realistic risks that come with it.
Thanks. Yeah, if it wasn't for my husband, it wouldn't have happened, because when I was doing it sort of on the side of my day job and people were asking me to do one here and there, it was like, oh, well, I've got to do it on a weekend, and it became like a chore, and I was only charging like pocket money, like it wasn't a real amount. So then it just became like, oh, why, not why bother, but it didn't really seem worth it. And because I then wasn't putting in the time to get better, it was just one here and there. It wasn't really leading to anything. So yeah, having that time in the US for 2 years, not that I drew every day for 2 years, I did a lot of sitting by the pool and going for lunch, but having the chance to do it whenever and not having to worry about money and things, it was amazing.
Well, that's wonderful that you took the leap and you did that. If you could do, just for fun, any other creative pursuit, what do you think you would try?
So interestingly, I know you're musical and that's your whole, you're a music therapist, aren't you? You do lots of other things, but yeah, piano and, is it violin?
Yes.
Yeah, so I played piano and trumpet. So when I was at school, it was either music or art, which one do I go down? And it was that thing where I had to decide quite early because of the school I went to. I went into this girls' grammar school, and you have to basically decide your subjects at like 13 or something ridiculous. And I couldn't do music and art if I wanted to take all the sciences. And my mum, being a science teacher, was like, you're going to do all the sciences. So I had to choose between music and art at about the age of 13 or 14. And I chose art. I carried on doing music, and I played trumpet in like 4 bands throughout my, education and things. But yeah, so if it wasn't art, it would have been music. Probably.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Just having music even as a hobby is always very fulfilling in a person's life. So
exactly. I just need to get a piano, because at the moment I'm in a very small apartment, and there's definitely no piano fitting in there. And I haven't played trumpet now in years. It's one of those things that, I went to university, I played it a little bit, and then I left it at my mum's house while we moved around everywhere. And then now that I've settled again back in the UK and things, I'm like, I keep saying, right, I need to join a band, and I need to pick up the trumpet again, but I just still haven't got around to it. But that is a goal for next year, I think.
There you go. Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting that you mentioned art and music, because my mom was very artistic and musical, but I only inherited the musical aspect. Like I can't cut a straight line, draw a straight line, anything like that.
That's funny.
Speaking of art, what is a piece of advice that you ignore and a piece of advice that you always follow?
I have had advice from people, other artists that do similar things to me. And one of the things that I should have followed, which I now do, but I feel like people don't at the beginning, is 2 things. A, charge what you're worth. And B, you can say no to a commission. Because I feel like at the beginning, us as creatives, we're like, oh, well, no one will buy it. I'll make it super cheap because otherwise, no one will pay for it. But then you've got 2 problems there. You can't make a career out of that if you're not charging your time and your worth. And B, there's always someone that's going to pay. If your work is good, and we're so worried about charging, I think because so many people almost expect art to be free. It's like, oh, art's this amazing thing. Like, can you draw me a picture for free? No, actually, I can't. So I think over time, I gradually put my prices up, and I wish I'd done it sooner, because I definitely wasn't charging enough at the beginning. And the second one is, at the beginning, again, because you're starting out, you're so worried about not getting the work that you say yes to anything. So someone sends you a picture of their dog and it's a terrible reference photo, it's not going to make a good drawing. You're like, yes, I'll do that. Halfway through, you're like so stressed. Why did I take on this commission? So yeah, I've learned after a couple of mistakes that it's okay to say no. If it's not a good enough photo and it's not going to be either something you're proud of or work out, and it's going to be stressful for you, you don't need to take it. So 2 advice that people should take, but I think everybody learns through their own mistakes almost.
Yeah, excellent advice. And, knowing your worth and charging your worth is such an important aspect for people in the creative and fine art fields, because so often, like you said, people expect us to do a music thing for free or for exposure or
for exposure. Like, that's going to pay my bills.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think it's so important that, like you said, you eventually rose your prices to be where they reflect the amount of time and effort that you put into them. And, it's so important for artists and creative people as a whole to just feel more comfortable and confident, because when you value yourself and your output, then the other people will value that too.
Yeah, and also you make it harder for not only yourself but other artists, because if you start charging a really small amount, they're like, other people think, oh well, I should charge that because they're only charging that, or I can get this for this amount. So we're not doing anyone a favor by undercharging. But yeah,
there's definitely been progress made, I think, especially in the unusual historical situation we're all in, where people are realizing how much more important art and music and all the arts are, and how much they miss going to the movies, yes, going to the theater, going to orchestra, things like that.
Yeah, you don't miss it till it's gone, as they say, or something.
Yes, very true.
Yeah.
We're going to switch gears, and I'm just really curious. Do you have a favorite type of pen or pencil or paper or mediums? What sort of stuff do you use? What do you like?
I do. So, well, I feel like, as far as being a pencil artist, especially graphite, I don't want to say unusual, but most people will go for the standard, okay, I use a 2B, a 4B, a 6B, an 8B, all the different, grades of graphite to get my tones. Whereas I solely use a 2B mechanical pencil and then a black colored pencil. So to get, one of the things people say with my artwork is that it's got really high contrast, and how do I get the depth of it? And it's because I use a black pencil rather than a graphite pencil. So it's a polychrome Mars pencil by Faber-Castell, and literally it's a black coloring pencil, and then I combine that with my 2B graphite, and I just make all the different ranges between blending those two together. I love a mechanical pencil as well because you don't have to sharpen it. It's great, it saves a lot of time. And then colored pencils, again, polychrome are my favorite. Yeah, I really like the way they work. They really layer together well. I like how they feel on the paper, which might sound a bit odd, but it's a really important thing to me. I don't like them to feel scratchy. It's like not an ASMR thing, but yeah, if it doesn't feel right, I don't like it, even if it might produce a good result. So I'm a bit funny with things like that. And then with paint, I'm not that fussy. I just use a standard acrylic. It's not a professional grade. It's almost in between a student professional grade of paint. But for what I use it for, it works perfectly. And I've been using it for the last 5 years or so. So yeah, nothing too fancy. Oh, I know one tip/tool that I use, which I couldn't live without for my pencil drawings, for my graphite ones. And it's a makeup brush. So people... before I discovered the makeup brush situation, I used to use tissue or cotton buds or your fingers, anything like that, to blend the pencil together. And it can sometimes make it look kind of murky or a bit, it changes the tone of the pencil almost, especially if you get any oils in it or anything like that, or rub it into the paper too much. So makeup brushes, the really soft ones you get for doing, blusher and eyeshadow, they work amazingly for blending graphite and just getting that smooth airbrush look without that muddy texture to it. So makeup brushes would be the one thing I would buy if I was a graphite artist.
That's neat. An interesting tip, but it does make sense. Yeah. You know, it's like blending on your face, blending on the paper.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. That is really cool. Yeah, I always wonder, just like all our, all creative people, it's like, oh, this is my favorite something, favorite spatula, favorite pencil.
I cannot live without it.
Yeah. Do you find that you gravitate towards doing certain, if you didn't have a commission and you just draw for yourself on a random rainy day or something, do you find that you draw certain things more or inspired by certain things more?
So I feel like with drawing, because my whole experience really with drawing has been commission based. Before that, when I was in the US, just sort of practicing, I was drawing things like celebrities, just because with Instagram it was okay, they're going to get the interaction, or I can get a good photo of them, for example. So there's nothing particularly that I think, oh, I really want to draw that, but that is my goal for next year, is to move away from commission slightly, to produce some original work that I can sell as prints, or, you know, potentially aim towards like an exhibition type situation. So I'm going to start with originals of other animals, just because I feel like I have an audience for that and it's not too far a step away from what I'm already doing. But I would love to transition into completely original work, yet to be confirmed, but I love drawing this shiny things. If you scroll right back on my Instagram, one of my first graphite drawings, I drew a pair of, you know, like those wet look leggings, like black shiny leggings. I love producing textures in clothes, so things that look like denim or shiny, or like people love it, you know, when you draw eyes and they think, oh, it looks wet. So all those kind of things I do love. So I want to sort of go down that route. I'm just not 100% how I'm getting there yet. But love to draw textures and shiny things.
Wow.
That
sounds, from a person who can't draw at all, that sounds like quite an interesting feat to have to make something look so realistic like that.
Yeah, I think it's funny because people I think are impressed by, oh wow, because that looks like an eye, or that looks shiny, how do you do that? And I'm like, well, drawing a shiny eye is no different to drawing a dull piece of wood. To me, I'm like, as long as you get the light and the dark in the right place, it's all an illusion, right? You look at that eye and you think it's shiny and wet because it's all got a white reflection in it. Yeah, so I just let that bit of paper be white next to that dark bit, and your brain thinks, oh, well, that's wet because that's what I know wetness looks like. I've not drawn it to look wet. It's just an illusion. But I just love how people in their brains think, oh my gosh, that looks wet, because the way you've drawn it. It's no different to drawing anything else to me. Yeah, so like a magic trick.
Yeah, it is like a magic trick, like an optical illusion for sure.
Yeah, exactly.
You draw animals, and you talked about how you want to draw some other things, but are there any animals that you have not drawn yet that you want to?
I would always love to draw a pig. So apart from Dachshunds being my favorite dog, my favorite animal has always been a pig. I've been obsessed with pigs since I was absolutely tiny. I used to collect toy pigs. I've got about 200 back at my parents' house that I collected over the years. And I actually went to have you heard of micro pigs, those miniature pigs?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I went to a micro pig farm last summer. There's one in the UK, and they are, oh my gosh, they're adorable. So when they're fully grown, they're the size of like a medium-sized dog, a lot heavier because, you know, they're quite chunky pigs. But they had these baby piglets, and I took lots of photos hoping that one would be good enough to draw. Turns out I'm not the best photographer, so I'm still looking for like the perfect photo that I can use to draw. But I would definitely like to draw a pile of piglets.
Oh, that'd be so cute.
I know, who doesn't love a baby pig? I mean,
right? That's how I am about ducks. I just love ducks. They're so cute.
Yeah, that's so true, especially ducklings.
All the farm animals, right?
All the animals. I love all animals. I'm obsessed with animals, which is funny because my husband is not an animal lover. I've made him tolerate animals over the years, and I've convinced him that he needs a miniature dachshund, and he actually has got on board with that whole situation. So next year we are planning to get one.
You had mentioned that you lived in both the US for a little while and now you're back in the UK, but I was wondering, how did living abroad affect your creativity and what you produced, and do you think having time on different shores sort of helped you see a different perspective with art?
I mean, it's funny because obviously the time was one thing, the fact that I had the time to produce art. So that affected me being in the US in the way that I could just produce what I wouldn't be able to in the UK. But then weirdly, when it came to my paintings, which I'm very influenced by light, in the US where it was so sunny all the time, it's not like I suddenly got a load of inspiration. I don't know. I did a few paintings over there, but then because I was concentrating on my drawings, I guess I wasn't really looking at it in that way. Although actually, I know the people listening won't be able to see this, but the painting behind me, this one, was based on where I lived in the US. So it was this amazing apartment building, and I took a picture of just the corridor inside the building, and then so that was the corridor and the doorways to different apartments, and then I obviously turned it into my own thing with the obviously sky and it looking, I don't know, everyone says it reminds them of like being on holiday. So I'm like, oh, maybe that is the US influence, you know, sunny and bright. But yeah, overall, I wouldn't say it actually made much difference. It's funny because before we went away, my husband was like, oh, maybe when you produce all your paintings in the US, it'll be like, oh yeah, your US period. And it'll be really different to like, you know, like how artists have different periods. I'm like, nope, they're basically the same.
Well, I guess the good thing is that, you know, you already knew who you were as an artist and you stayed true to yourself.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
We were talking about inspirations. How do you feel about music? You know, does that inspire you or your art, or do you listen to music when you do drawing and painting?
This is where I feel like I'm a bit of an anomaly. I don't really like listening to music. This is going to sound so weird, but I feel like when I'm concentrating on drawing or doing anything else, it irritates me. I can listen to it for a short amount of time and then I'm like, okay, can you shut up now? I need to turn you off and have silence. So if I'm not working in silence, then I will have something like on Netflix in the background, but something I don't have to concentrate, like Friends or something that can just be on in the background. So I'm not just sitting in silence on my own in the house all day. The only music that I can listen to that doesn't irritate me is either Disney or Hairspray and The Greatest Showman. The soundtracks from them, I absolutely love them. Sometimes in the morning, I will start off my day listening to The Greatest Showman and Hairspray, and then I'm ready for the day. But then after that, I'm like, okay, that's it. I don't need to listen to any more music. So yeah, I don't really have much of a music collection. I don't have any music on my phone. I don't even own headphones to listen to music in the gym. I'm just weird.
That's okay though, but you've got your faves and it helps you charge your morning, you know?
Exactly. That's all I need.
And that's okay. Greatest Showman. I have not seen it, but I've heard the soundtrack like a bajillion times.
So good. Oh, it's my favorite. I must have watched it 100 times. I get very stuck in what I like, and I'll just watch that over and over.
Yeah, it's on my list of movies to watch over the holidays.
You can't go wrong with Zac Efron and Hugh Jackman. Yeah, the two of those.
What is one of the biggest sectors of art that you're curious about right now?
To be honest, again, like me with not listening to music, I have a very bad habit of not having a broad knowledge about the art world and not being sort of fully submersed in it. I feel like it's very easy, especially with social media these days, although it's so easy to access absolutely everything, you almost make a little niche for yourself. And I see other pencil artists and I follow other pencil artists, and that is all my feed is full of people doing the same thing as me, and that the people I connect with do the same thing as me. And I feel like you get very sort of submersed in just a very small area of art and you forget to look elsewhere. So when I started my Instagram before I did drawings, I was following loads of different painters and things like that. And since I've been doing my drawings, it's like all of that's disappeared. I don't even see them anymore. And I feel like it's something I need to get better at, is to try and experience a different range and diversity of art that I currently don't, because I'm so sort of stuck in my own little bubble.
You know, you've got a pathway and you're honed in on it, and it's easy to get really sucked into, especially with the social media algorithms, you know, showing you so much of the same thing over and over. Yeah. Always good to try and branch out though, right?
Yeah, it's like, it's only when someone shared, like recently, again, it's a kind of in my niche, but someone shared on their story another artist, and I was like, I clicked on it, and I was like, wow, this artist, how have I not found this artist before? The most incredible artist I've ever seen. So she does do colored pencil, so it is in my niche, but she does completely different stuff, like original artworks that at the moment she's got an exhibition on in New York called Blonde, and they're all drawings of wigs. Sounds really random. But her drawings are so amazing, so realistic, and they're absolutely huge as well. And I feel like she's an artist that you cannot not like, even if you're not into art. You know, someone that it's impressive, it's amazing to look at, it's interesting. I feel like people need to check her out if they haven't heard. So she's called CJ Hendry. She's got like 1 million followers. I don't know, her artwork, just one drawing can sell up to $250,000. I mean,
wow.
Yeah. And I'm at the moment, you know, when you suddenly get obsessed with someone, like the last few months, I just constantly am watching her stories, looking at her work, watching her videos, anything she puts out there, I'm like getting my hands on. If I lived in New York, I would be at that exhibition. I think it's literally on right now. It's a 3-day exhibition and it looks incredible. So yeah, but again, Colored pencils. I'm still not branching out. I'm branching out slightly away from the portrait commission artists, but still the same media.
I was wondering, how has your life in the creative arts been different than what you imagined it would be?
It's probably it's funny. It's probably the same as what you would imagine if you're not arty. Like, I feel like you imagine when you're an artist, it's like this amazing lifestyle, and you sit and you paint and it's relaxing, and you just, you know, people have this vision of someone in a floaty dress with the canvas out and their paintbrush up. And it's just not like that. It's quite lonely. For me, I'm a very, if you might have noticed, quite a chatty person. And I've always done jobs where I'm talking all day. My previous job, I was a teaching assistant, and I was talking with kids on my feet all day, every day around people. So to then be at home on my own every day is definitely probably the biggest, if there is a con, the biggest con of being an artist is I would love to be not on my own. But apart from that, and the fact that then you also, you see the other side of it, of not just the creating side, the side where you have to do your accounts, you have to be your social media manager, take the photos, do the ordering of the stock, all of that other stuff that I don't think people really think about when you say, oh, you're an artist. They're just like, oh, that's so cool. Like, yeah, it is. But the illusion is broken from what you see. It's like with people that want to be a pop star and they imagine the lifestyle, but the actual reality is very different, but not in a negative way. As I say, most of it is positive. I love having my own schedule, being able to stay in my pajamas all day, for instance, if I'd like to, all those kind of things. But definitely being on my own is not the most enjoyable aspect of being an artist.
It's interesting that you mentioned that, because so many persons I've talked to has said that, you know, what they do is very lonely, you know, like let's say they're a concert musician, so they're traveling the world alone, you know, or an artist in their home alone. And
yeah,
it's definitely for some people a con. Other people enjoy the alone time, obviously.
And I mean, I do enjoy, I feel like I'm one of those people that I am very good at being on my own. Like, I love being around people and socializing, but equally I'm very happy to be on my own and not do anything. But then when it's all day, every day, and, you know, I've moved back from the US, from living in a building with my friends to living somewhere during the pandemic where I don't know anybody. My family is 5 hours away. I'm now working on my own from home. I don't meet or speak to anybody. I don't have any friends in the area. So all of those things compiled together, at least if you were working in a job with other people, you'd have your colleagues. So I feel like right now where we are, it's more obvious.
It's almost like a complete isolation that you didn't intend to have as an artist, and then made more so by the situation.
Exactly. I mean, I've got my husband, so, you know, at least he comes home in the evenings and I can chat to him. But
there you go. And you'll eventually get some dogs and mini pigs.
Exactly. Once I have a dachshund, everything will be better.
Yes, they're ornery and adorable little dogs, aren't they?
Exactly. Honestly, I can't wait. I found that whole being on Instagram, and because I draw so many dachshunds, like once I started drawing dachshunds, I've got more dachshund commissions, and I think 50% of my commissions are dachshunds. And so I've met sort of some people that own dachshunds over Instagram, and a lot of them are near me in London, and I have met up with a few of them. We did like a miniature dachshund meetup, and they all had dogs. I was the only weirdo there without a dog. But I came along anyway, and that was really fun. I was like, oh my gosh, I can't wait to have a dog. It's like a new way to meet people, like people that have kids that make friends with other mums. I'm just going to make friends with dog mums.
There you go. Yeah. And there's so many different kinds of dachshunds, long-haired and short-haired, and then the spotted kinds.
Yeah, I mean, me and my husband are definitely set on a short-haired chocolate and tan boy. That's what we've already named it. We already have the name picked out, honestly.
Oh, how cute.
Oh, can't wait. Anyway.
Yes.
Watch this space. There'll be one next year.
I hope so. I hope to see lots of dachshund pictures when you get your puppy.
Oh my gosh, I'll be spamming the Instagram stories when I get one.
We're going to jump gears here. And I was wondering, what is a common stereotype about being an artist that you hope to break with your work?
I don't know if there's a common stereotype that I could break with my work. I feel like, as I said before, the common stereotype of, you know, just being this picturesque job where you don't see the other side of it. I feel like that's already been broken in a way, because I feel so many people show the behind the scenes process now with Instagram. Before, people walk into a gallery, they see the finished piece of artwork, they might meet the artist if they're lucky and be like, oh, bam, here it is. Whereas now, you know, I do a lot of stories showing how long it takes, like all the different things I buy, very sort of, as an audience member, I feel like you do get a kind of full picture. Maybe it's still kind of Instagrammed, if you know what I mean, and sort of painted in a nice way, because you're not going to show every little, I'm not going to, for example, when I ripped up a drawing the other day, didn't post that on my Instagram, but you know what, I think I might do. I just actually currently can't because it's a secret commission for Christmas for someone, but maybe next in the new year when I post it, I'm going to say, but you know what, all is not as it seems. This is the second attempt at this drawing, because I think people think as well, oh wow, you're so talented, like it comes so easy to you, and I get that, and I obviously do have a natural ability, and I'm so grateful for that, but it is hard work and you do have to learn, and sometimes it's a real struggle to get through a commission depending on how difficult it is. It's not just as easy as, oh la la la, I just need to draw and then it'll be done, it's just time. So maybe that is something that people are starting to realize through Instagram anyway, but maybe it's something we do need to show more of. But then I don't know, do people like the illusion of the fantasy of being an artist? I don't know.
Good question there. Yeah. You know, maybe the allure is the fantasy.
Yeah. But then maybe that's just disappointing people. I mean, I feel like recently there's been so many pop stars and famous people that have come out and said, you know what, actually I went through a stage where my mental health was terrible, or you know, and people were really showing actually the other side. It's not how glamorous it looks from the outside. And I guess that can only be a good thing. I don't know is the answer overall. There are my thoughts.
There you go. I'm going to throw a quirky question at you. If you could have dinner with any creative person, dead or alive, who would it be? And what do you think you'd have for the meal?
I think it would either be Freddie Mercury, because oh my gosh, if I was to pick up my favorite band, it's got to be Queen. I mean, the talent is insane, right? And I just, every time I watch Freddie Mercury, I'm like, oh, I wish I could have seen him in real life. I mean, I don't know if he's necessarily the best person to have dinner with, but I wish I could meet him. Maybe to have dinner with, an interesting one would be Salvador Dali. Feel like most people have heard of the artist Dali. I feel like when I was growing up, I loved his artwork so much. I thought it was amazing, and he's definitely a bit of a character, so he'd be maybe an interesting one for dinner. And I think I would have a steak, because that is always my go-to choice at a restaurant.
I love a good steak too, right?
Yeah, can't go wrong.
Yes, steak and fries.
Yes, literally, except for it's got to be chips. I know in America you call them fries, but fries, right, are those skinny ones. Chips are the nice chunky thick ones.
Ooh, yes. That sounds even better.
Yeah, exactly. Soak up that steak juice.
All right, now you're making me hungry and it's morning time here.
Yeah, you haven't had breakfast yet.
So another quirky question. What is your favorite movie and what does it reveal about you?
Okay, this is an easy one. Okay, so I am obsessed with superheroes like Marvel, DC, and my favorite movie has always been, again, since I was little, Superman. And I'm talking the old school Supermans, you know, the like with Christopher Reeves and everything, and it's just so dated, but I love the cheese, like all the old Superman movies where they're just like rescuing people and it's super cheesy. I absolutely love it. But I think I have like an obsession with wanting to be able to fly, because again, since I was younger, all I remember is I dream about flying all the time, and I still have regular dreams that I can fly. It's like, I don't know, I obviously just really want to be able to fly or something, and that's why I'm so obsessed with Superman.
Those are really good movies though. Yeah, I like the cheesiness too.
Yeah, like I love the new ones that are super dramatic and like action packed, but there's got to be some things to be said for like the old cheesy ones.
Yes. Are you all caught up on all like a gazillion movies and TV shows?
I mean, yeah, all the Marvel ones, definitely. And we've already booked to see Spider-Man, the newest Spider-Man, which comes out, I think, next week. Already booked in at the cinema for that. At the moment, currently watching the new series that's just come out, Superman and Lois, loving that. So yeah, and my husband's the same. That's probably one of the main things we have in common, is that we both love like all the Marvel superhero stuff. Because apart from that, we're quite different. Like he's a scientist and I'm an artist, so, you know.
But you meet in the middle with Marvel.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's sweet, though. Excellent. Well, Hannah, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
And listeners, please check the show notes to check out Hannah and her beautiful, beautiful drawings and paintings. And of course, tune in to more artists, actors, authors on the Creative Piecemeal Podcast website. Thanks for listening to the podcast. Like the show? Have a question? Stop by the Facebook and Instagram pages. Links are in the show notes, or search for Creative Piecemeal Podcast on social media and click follow for all the latest.